Let's start with a little roleplay. Imagine stepping onto a span of cold, unyielding iron. You look into the void, and a voice says, "I am the warden of your deepest wasteland. I am the Pale Inquisitor, and in my cosmic domain there is no forward momentum, no vibrant color, and absolutely no escape from the relentless tally of your internal flaws. Welcome to my geometry of guilt." Wow, heavy, right? Let's get right into this explainer. I do not care about your actions. I tally your hunger. That right there is the chilling manifesto of the Pale Inquisitor. And honestly, he isn't your standard, run-of-the-mill judge evaluating what you've done right or wrong out in the physical world. He is something way, way more terrifying. He's this cosmic personification of moral OCD, scrupulosity, if you want the clinical term. He literally punishes the mere shadow of a doubt. If you've ever felt completely paralyzed by the thought that just having a desire somehow makes you guilty, yeah, you've definitely met the Pale Inquisitor in your own mind.
Act 1. The Domain. A spectral judge. Let's look at where this guy actually lives.
To really understand the Inquisitor, we gotta understand the space he occupies, and notice how his domain totally mirrors Arthurian mythology. If you know the legends, you probably remember Lancelot crossing the Sword Bridge. Now that bridge was a literal razor's edge, but it was a fluid test of physical and spiritual courage to move forward. The Inquisitor's domain is the dark mirror to that, the Iron Bridge. It's a bridge that doesn't actually lead anywhere at all. It's just a platform for absolute judgment, where the seeker is demanded to stand perfectly still. It's total, suspended stagnation.
And look at the architecture itself, the vibrant, fluid possibilities of life, what the source material calls the glass fortress, have been entirely replaced by the rigid, unyielding iron of absolute law. And get this, the Inquisitor doesn't even walk on this bridge. He kind of just drifts above it. This literally elevates him above humanity, separating him completely from the very people he judges. He's operating within this empty, terrifying architecture of fear, totally detached from the warmth of actual human experience.
Moving on to Act 2, the Law. Clinical emptiness.
So what kind of law actually requires such clinical emptiness? Well, psychologically speaking, the Inquisitor represents what's known as the dead father archetype, or a necrotic superego. Now, in Freudian terms, the superego is your inner critic, right? But a necrotic superego? That's a psychological law that continues to rule and punish you even though the original authority figure, the architect of those rules, is long gone. The throne has literally been empty for an eternity, yet here's the Inquisitor continuing to zealously enforce an obsolete rulebook right inside the human mind.
The Inquisitor carries this burden visually, too. He's described as wearing robes of iron filings. I mean, think about the physics of that for a second. Iron filings suggest a really powerful magnetism. He is quite literally a magnet for the guilt, the shame, and the densest, heaviest debris of everyone who steps onto his bridge. He's just completely weighed down by the absolute darkest parts of the human spirit.
But here is the profound, tragic irony of this whole character. He is a prisoner of his own architecture. Much like the Grand Inquisitor in Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov, he has created a system so flawless, so incredibly unyielding, that it's actually trapped him inside it as well. He is standing guard over an absolute vacuum. And why? Because he's terrified, deeply terrified, that if his rigid laws disappear, he will just cease to exist. His entire identity is tied to the stagnation he enforces.
Act 3. The Scourge and the Ledger. Merciless Rituals.
To enforce this vacuum, the Inquisitor utilizes three main tools of torment. First up, the tolling bell. Historically, bells were rung to ward off demons or mark a funereal death. Here, it's a Pavlovian trigger, marking the sudden death of your spontaneous thoughts. Second, we have the internal scourge. Just like medieval flagellants who literally whipped themselves trying to ward off the plague, the Inquisitor inflicts psychic pain to stave off what he sees as a spiritual infection. And finally, the ink of regret. He doesn't allow for growth, no way. He only tallies failures and cowardice, making sure the weight of the past is never ever gone.
This all leads us to his ultimate philosophy, which is purification through subtraction. Think about it. Most mythic heroes grow by adding virtues, right? They gain courage, they gain wisdom. Not the Inquisitor. He believes terminal perfectionism is achieved only by subtracting all desire. It's wild. He treats the human soul like a messy first draft that has to be brutally edited and erased down to a single blank page. Because to him, Only the completely blank, empty soul can be truly safe from failure. Act 4. The Beast, the Silver Wolf. Let's talk about his rival. Because you can't really have a law without something to break it, right? Let's compare these two opposing forces. On the left side, we have the Pale Inquisitor, the superego. He represents absolute restraint, suffocating stillness, clinical erasure, and basically the barren wasteland. But on the right, we've got the Silver Wolf, the Eyed. The wolf represents raw instinct, primal hunger, disharmonious noise, and the wild living forest. So, the Inquisitor's cold pursuit of perfect safety is in this constant vicious conflict with the chaotic, instinctual hunger of the wolf.
So the absolutely crucial point here is how these two interact in what we call the cycle of repressive perfectionism. Step 1, instinct or desire arises, basically the wolf stirs. Step 2, the Inquisitor's bell tolls and the psychic scourge is applied to beat it back. Step 3, and honestly this is the profound Jungian tragedy of the whole thing, this repression actually deepens the violent shadow. By scourging the psyche to erase the wolf, the Inquisitor inadvertently feeds it. It's a symbiotic shadow. The more you repress those instincts, the more violent they become. And finally, step 4, total, paralyzed stagnation is achieved.
Which kind of brings us to this realization that the Inquisitor isn't just some villain who takes joy in his work. He's actually a martyr of the absolute. He is draped in chains of his own making, completely crushed by his duty. By trying so hard to keep the storm at bay, he has built a wall of suffocating stillness, turning his internal world into an Arthurian wasteland where literally nothing can grow. He is a martyr to a rigid law that, at the end of the day, saves absolutely no one.
Act 5. Integration. Breaking the cycle. Let's see how we get out of this.
So how do we actually break this cycle? Well, here is the ultimate twist, the real test of the Iron Bridge. You don't defeat the Inquisitor by following his impossible rules, and you don't defeat him by fighting him either. You pass the test by realizing that the Iron Bridge, the heavy robes, and the spectral judge himself, they're mere illusions. They are fragmented, terrified parts of the Seeker's own mind. The Inquisitor is you. He's just the part of you that is way too afraid to be truly free.
To achieve real freedom, the Seeker has to become what's called the Holy Whole. You cannot destroy the forest just to kill the wolf, and you definitely cannot let the wolf run completely unchecked. True integration, like true wholeness, requires embracing both. You need the messy, vibrant, disharmonious desire of this silver wolf, paired right alongside the focused restraint of the Inquisitor. When you accept both your hunger and your discipline, that's when the Iron Bridge finally vanishes.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. It really leaves us viewing the Inquisitor's journey for what it truly is, the absolute terminal point of human perfectionism and fear. So I want to leave you with this. If the Inquisitor tallies every hunger in his ink of regret, what is the one pure memory omitted from his ledger? Contrast his terrifying, empty architecture with that hidden, unrecorded memory of purity inside you. Is there a single pristine desire so pure that even his cynical ink cannot touch it? Because if you can find it, that might just be the key to collapsing the Iron Bridge forever. Something to think about the next time your inner bell tolls. Until next time, keep exploring.